next 2 years. It's not a hard and fast agenda by any means, but at the same time, I'll start with the meeting schedules. Obviously, the board, by ordinance, is required to meet twice a month, second and fourth Mondays, but the optional meeting is the workshop session. I've laid out some of the options. Obviously, we've met bi-weekly on off Monday nights. For the last 2 years, the board has met bi-weekly on board nights for an hour beforehand, and there are other alternatives as well. So, posing the question for the board is, how would you like to operate in the future in terms of your workshop sessions?
Sounds good. So in the past, as a little history, what we have done before we changed was that we would have work sessions on one Monday and have the meeting on the other, and a fifth we would have off typically. Then people wanted to condense the meetings into not to have every other week off basically. So we'd have the work sessions at 6. So my only thought about this is that sometimes we've been running over in our work sessions, trying to cram so much into a condensed period of time that I'm sort of interested in seeing if people want to move back to the alternating weeks where we could actually spend enough time during the work session to get that done. So that's my thought. Lisa?
I think one of the reasons that we moved it to the hour before was because a lot of cases we were meeting and then having a meeting that lasted like half an hour, so that seemed inefficient. So, but I think we needed more flexibility than always starting at 6. If there's something that's longer, we need to either start earlier or have a long issue on an off Monday. That would be mine.
It's hard, I suspect, for a lot of people to get here much. 6 is sort of pushing the outer limit for me to be able to actually get here. So it depends on what people's work schedule is like. So.
A question, since actually if you or Lisa and Amelia could address this, since you've probably experienced both methods most. Do you have a sense of which one got more public interest? Which way? Was there a difference? Or?
I think they're all poorly attended.
Well, yeah. Equally poorly, huh?
Equally poorly. That's my perspective. Lisa?
I think, though, that when we had a 2-hour thing, 2 hours worth of stuff, then people on that issue tend to come.
Yeah.
But if it's the shorter things, I think we've been getting better attendance just before a regular board meeting.
I agree with that. I think that the way that we've been going the last year and a half works better when we have one.
Just need more time sometimes.
That's the only thing. So the only issue is that we just have to be aware that we'll have these times where we're just going to roll into the regular meeting. So, which we've been able to work out, but it's not it's not the best.
It doesn't happen very often, though. We've had a couple of times when we needed to go into past 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And if there's something really that we know is going to take a long time, we can poll everybody and see, can somebody get here at 5:30 maybe and get that extra half an hour, or make an announcement that the regular meeting is going to start at 7:15 or 7:30. I don't know. Maybe.
It's hard to predict, because people want to attend at a specific time. So,
George.
It's George's.
George. It's your hearing aid. It's buzzing. Is it your hearing aid that's buzzing?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Lisa?
I think we need to call it by, I think it's bad to start the town board meeting off of a 7 o'clock schedule. That's my own personal opinion. I don't, go totally whatever. But we've had some cases where we've really unrealistically scheduled, 40 minutes for something that we know it should. I would have, if I'd been asked up front, I would have said 2 hours min. So I think we really need to just look at what's on the agenda and make the call. I think for many things we can do it in the hour or an hour and something before, but for some things we just have to take another time.
Okay.
I personally like the way we've been going for the last 2 years, and I think that the other Mondays, I hold them sacred for the town, and if we need to use those to do a work session or a special meeting, I think we should go that route.
Okay.
Sounds like unanimous.
And I can't really
Sounds unanimous.
recall very many meetings that we had to go over into
The last few we have, but
well, it kind of there's an ebb and flow on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a lot going on, and sometimes there's very little.
it's true. Okay. So it seems like the desire is to continue the current schedule. Okay.
with
Very good.
editing where needed.
Okay.
Distribution of agenda materials, and there are a couple. Some board members have expressed an interest in receiving the paperless agenda, a disc with all the materials on it. The vast majority continues to receive the hard copy. Is there a unanimous preference on paper versus paperless? And if we went paperless, we're obviously looking at probably getting laptops and a number of other equipment for those that aren't equipped to do a paperless agenda.
So why don't you just, everybody's personal preference?
Okay. I personally like the digital format, and I have something called Adobe Acrobat Professional, so I get to highlight, just like you all highlight on your hard copy. So I don't really see it much difference, and that's just my preference, because I don't like to deal with paper.
Okay.
I like the paper. I recycle most of it, so. But if the majority of the board votes for paperless, I would go for that. I have to make an adjustment, but it'll be fine.
I would prefer paper. I make my notes starting Thursday night. I'd prefer to have the paper.
Yeah, I have a hard time actually working. You know, I'd love to be able to be green and go electronic and be able to work off it. And I've actually tried it in the past, but I can't manipulate it fast enough. So I'm still in the paper camp.
I've historically been in the paper camp, but I've been moving toward the paperless because of I think I can highlight as well, like that same thing. But if the majority goes paper, you see me scribble lots of notes, so it's
My
just
best guess is that, you know, people who want electronic have it electronic. People who want paper can have a paper, and just tell the manager. Joe?
Well, I've been kind of using both systems, except my computer's been borrowed today, so I don't have it with me, but going paperless isn't really green, since that just shifts the cost to me because I print everything out before. I can't sit there and look at a computer and read. So I like the current system, paper, and I can do with electronic as I wish.
Okay.
Paper for me.
All right. So
Done.
very good.
Does that mean we're all going paperless or paper?
No. I mean,
Or is
I don't
it-
think
can
there's
I
any difficulty.
continue?
No, you can't, Deb. You have to go backwards.
You must have
I
paper.
can't do it. Can't
We're
do
going to
it.
take that Adobe from you, and
I don't think there's any difficulty sending it to somebody electronically, is it? So
Is it a lot of work on
It's
your
on
part?
It's not my part.
it's on the website.
Am I the
Already
easy
tonight's on the
one?
website, so.
Come on.
We have to wait till it's all done, and then somebody has to do a disc. for
Burn a
you.
disc.
Yeah, burn a disc, yeah.
can we do it? Can we do it wirelessly?
And we do it on the website, so
Yeah.
it could be attainable
Yeah.
that way. But
What was missing?
Well,
What was missing from the? This meeting's already on the website. What would be missing from that package?
Confidential
That's it.
information.
But we didn't go.
But that would
board
come paper
packet, it
anyway,
would not
though.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was already available for most of the week.
yeah, I mean, so you have to put it in this
Saturday.
format anyway.
Yes,
Am I
correct.
Get that.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
We just
Okay.
burn a disc is the only thing. And sometimes by the time we get the agenda done, that holds us up a little bit, but I don't think that's a problem. I think we can still do that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
delivery or pickup?
Well, obviously delivery.
Delivery is nice,
It is nice.
because otherwise,
Yes, definitely.
if you're working after hours and town hall's closed, it becomes then difficult.
Delivery.
Yeah, sorry for the trouble, but
Lead time, so we're currently on Thursday. We have had it on Wednesday in the past, and the reason it was moved to Thursday is that things were then getting added to the agenda late in time, so it was moved to Thursday, so.
Was it ever Friday, or am I imagining that?
Planning
I think
Commission
they-
was Friday.
I think we
Planning
talked
Commission.
about it,
Planning Commission,
but yeah. Wednesday, it was earlier in the past.
Thursday's fine, plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm good with Thursdays.
Okay.
Okay.
The role of advisory boards, when I looked at this again, we've really covered it with the work programs and all the rest, unless the board is of the opinion that they want to revisit the issue of the roles of their advisory boards. But we had some instances in the years past, when I prepared this 2 years ago, of what was the role of an advisory board, and could they stray into areas of their own interest and concern, a la economic development, public works, so on and so forth, or did the board only want them to stick to their original charges or tasks that the board has assigned? And I think the work program has gotten to the latter.
Yeah.
sort of a hybrid.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Additional advisory boards beyond the ones we currently have,
In creating,
correct?
so we could, if you want to have an official advisory board, which is, not of this board, somebody else advising the board, then we could have a resolution to officially create it.
Is that when the new board takes office? We bring that up? Okay.
But if you have, if you have an idea about it, go ahead and share.
Well, definitely, I have two ideas. One is I'd like to see some mechanism for bringing residents into the library discussion. I think that's an ongoing discussion that continues to be needed. And so whether or not that's in an advisory board capacity or in some other capacity where we incorporate citizens purposely into the discussion, I'd like that to be discussed. And then several of us have discussed the concept of business development and how to maybe make that a ongoing board discussion. So if that's advisory commission or another capacity.
Right, so the question is then, did you want to create another board, advisory board, which would not include this board to be advising us on business development?
Or a board committee.
Which is different.
Yeah, that's different. A board committee, which is in the next bit. We'll get to that in a little bit.
So it depends on, those are both possibilities, and it depends on which version
My
you see.
interest is in a group that involves business owners, residents, perhaps board participation, perhaps some staff participation. So a diversified group. And that is the case in both the library and business development.
Okay, we could, so we can talk about that some more. We can talk about it we'll have to have a getaway, and we can talk about it during the retreat. Lisa?
And the library one came up as a discussion item when we talked about the ballot language, so I think there'd be some support for that at least.
And you all know that I've mentioned before that I'm interested in a youth advisory board
Great start.
in some capacity involving a wide range of ages.
I think we actually still have it. I don't know if we've dissolved it. Or
Well, I
not.
want to relook at how we created.
The framework exists. You've not appointed since the original appointments in 2007.
Right.
As I recall, there was
And
some
that's on the goals list.
keeping membership up.
That was a difficult time. So, okay.
Appointments to the advisory boards, and you've got the list of all the existing, the 5 advisory boards and all of their current composition, with the exception of the 1 vacancy, which the old board will be dealing with later this evening. But all of the existing terms, and sorry if there's any confusion as to what some of those columns meant, but name, original date of appointment, I believe their expiration of their term, and the last column was the resolution by which they were appointed. So some of those dates and numbers didn't make a whole lot of sense. I believe there were 10 or 11 people on that list that are up for reappointment.
Yep.
So the process, first question was the process that the board wishes to use. Personal observation, it has been iffy, depending on the board or commission. Sometimes we've just reappointed those that have expressed an interest. Sometimes names have just filtered up, and sometimes we've gone through a broad solicitation, board interviews, and the like. So,
Thoughts, Lisa?
I think there's been some system to that, only in the fact that we tended to have interviews and stuff when more than just, I think we've tried to advertise in the newsletter, and if only the previous people were interested, then we haven't always gone through an interview process, but when more than the original people are interested, then I think we've had interviews. But I thought we'd always advertise the openings on either Channel 8 or in the newsletter.
Other thoughts?
Not quite that random, so.
Okay, well,
Status quo?
Status quo for now, and we can always revisit this.
Okay. Likewise for reappointments. I can't remember a situation where we interviewed for reappointments, But whether you want those that are the incumbents that are currently, whose terms are currently expiring, to be contacted to find out about their reinterest, or if you just want to open up the vacancies to anybody that might be interested, including the incumbents, looking for guidance on what we should do with the 10 or
Right, so
11.
we'll need to, because there's at least a few here, I think, on the planning commission. I recollect. I'd have to
believe
look
there
at
are
the
4
thing
on the
again.
planning
So there's
commission.
right, so that are up. So the question is whether or not you want to look at different appointments or just see if people are interested in continuing. So that's the only thing that we need to make some decision relatively soon.
I'd be in favor of opening it up.
Always advertise, I say.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should advertise, and if we get others interested, that we should, interview them as well as the ones that are.
You have
Still
four
wanna be
terms
reappointed.
expiring this month.
Yep.
Is there a
What'd you say?
So we have,
If you look at
is it 4?
What is
Yeah.
it?
I mean, so we'll
Yeah,
just
there
have
are
to-
quite a few.
They'll continue to be in their current capacity
Until replaced.
until we
Yeah.
replace them or reappoint them.
Correct.
Could I ask what the standard protocol on that is? They do expire in April. At what point ahead of an expiration do we advertise?
It's sort of hit or miss.
Based on this
honestly.
discussion, we'll do it immediately in the newsletter, on Channel 8, through all of our forums, that there are vacancies on these 2 or 3 commissions. We're searching for whatever the number is, 10 or 11 bodies. Advise the incumbents that they're more than welcome to submit their expressions of interest to continue to serve in those capacities.
Yep.
My
Historically,
question
it's
is-
not that there's a plethora of people, like 20 people for
Yeah.
4 positions. It's not like that, so
Right.
we're lucky to cover.
And that's why it's good to advertise ahead.
Yeah.
But the question is, if we know something's expiring at the end of a particular month, can we give ourselves the beginning of the previous month
Sure.
as our guideline to things?
Actually, we should do it sooner than that, because it takes longer.
Because
Yeah.
it takes,
Yeah, words
takes a
take
few,
longer.
takes a few weeks to
Standard.
get the, so,
So maybe 30 days before? or
I think 60.
60
yeah,
days before?
probably.
That's what we tend to need, to get enough candidates to show
Yeah.
interest.
To show up so
have
that you can
time to
actually have an interview.
and make a decision.
Yeah.
I think we tend to need 60 days.
Case in point, Prostat. We're deciding on
And
that
then,
today.
there have been times in the past where, at least prior boards, it was like, just check with the incumbent, did they want to continue? If they did, okay, but that's not necessarily the fairest system either.
Yep, it's not, not right or wrong, it's just,
Yeah.
how you like to operate.
But the time, like, there's more time involved in getting this done than we, like the planning commission, how many, I think they have a requirement for 5 for a
Quorum.
quorum, so with 4 of them, well, if we continue them, I guess it's not,
All continue to serve until replaced. That's written into your ordinances. This last one under appointments is a remnant from 2 years ago. The board at that time decided that there was nothing wrong with having elected officials on advisory boards. The
And I
external.
assume that we will continue with, so people can be on the board, and we've also, I think maybe it's coming up here, I forget where you have the liaison, but, we have generally recommended having liaisons to a board liaison to that committee, so.
And that was brought about because of difficulty bringing forward the motions that happened,
Well, yeah.
as I recall.
Yeah, it's multifactorial. It's sort of a communication thing to make sure that the advisory boards kind of knew where the direction that the board was thinking of, the questions that we had, and making sure that there was communication back and forth, because not all of the advisory boards would come and report back to the meeting. So I think there were several different reasons, but yeah. Okay.
The list of external appointments, I made the one ad, which was the Louisville Library Board. As the mayor's email of yesterday or early this morning indicated, a couple of these are limited. RTD, we do not have an appointment. Urban Drainage, we do not have an appointment, though we have the benefit of a local appointee. And some go by position. Metro Mayor's Caucus and Mayor's Commissioners Coalition are the chair. But DRCOG, Boulder County Consortium of Cities, US 36 Interchange Committee, which was created with the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Louisville, which calls for 2 board members from each community and the 2 city managers, a committee of 6 to discuss interchange-related issues. The Rocky Flat Stewardship Council, and then again the Louisville Library Board, which since the intergovernmental went into place in January of 2009 has been a board member. The intergovernmental agreement doesn't require it to be a board member.
So, and just to clear up my, so Metro mayors, obviously, Metro mayors and US 36 mayors and commissioners, typically they have mayors and commissioners associated with that, and once again, urban drainage is the governor's appointment. But I'm more than willing to give, I mean, I like Rocky Flats issues. I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm happy to give that up also to people that are interested in that, so.
So you want people to write you emails about what they're interested in?
Well, so let's just make sure people kind of understand what and also for Metro mayors and mayors and commissioners, the mayor pro tem typically would then, if I couldn't make those meetings, typically would attend those meetings. So, and Metro mayors is the first Tuesday in Denver from 8:30 to 12 roughly. So let's see. Joe, do you want to talk about what Dr. Cog does?
Yeah, Dr. Cog is the, and really, I have to say, in all honesty, Dana has carried the ball on that like 99% of the time in a great manner. Dr. Cog is sort of a regional planning commission for transportation and I think aging issues for the Denver region. And we have
Water quality as well.
water quality, maybe, I don't remember.
It has to do. It has
I'll
to
tell
do.
you.
With, it has to do with wastewater and
Okay.
expansion of water facilities. But
So they meet, I think, on the 3rd Wednesday of the month in Denver. And we have Dana has been the representative. I've been the alternate. I really have only had to go like one time in 2 years to that. But we do have we need to have a representative on that. They handle the planning for regional transportation issues. So the big thing in the past couple of years has been the E470 and getting that on the plan. And it is in fact on the plan now, much to our chagrin. We try to work closely with our neighbors in Boulder and Louisville on. And there's also money available from the state via Dr. Cog for transportation plans. For example, we in Louisville had money available for the interchange that we're not going to be able to use because that came to a halt based on, most simply stated, the 36 environmental impact studies and lack of agreement on how to proceed on that right now. But that's an important position for keeping us in touch with our neighbors. And the worst part about it is that getting into Denver at that particular time of night is a pain in the neck because it's a 6:30 meeting, so the traffic that's going to Denver between 5 and 6:30 is. But that's about it.
And so it is so it's the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, where all major metropolitan areas have these things to allocate federal dollars for transportation issues, and also the local area agency on aging, if I have the acronym correct. Although that's not true for Boulder, so in Boulder County, for whatever reason, Boulder County has its own. So we could actually, that's another one that if people wanted to attend, area agency on aging, that's actually in Boulder.
So actually on Dr. Cog, we need 2 appointments. We need to appoint the rep and an
The
alternate.
rep and the alternate. And Dr. Cog can basically expand to fill any void that you might want to have, because you could attend the NVIC, what is NVIC? It's one of their acronyms for like one of the planning things, and then there's the
It's an issue
executive
for-
committee. Metro Vision's Issues Committee. Thank you. I knew that I would get there eventually. So, you know, they talk about the urban growth boundary and things like that, which affect the region in general. So, and once again, there was an executive committee that you could join, and they have a whole bunch of classes you can attend. So, once again, it's a huge thing and very important. So, consortium. Lisa, I think you've been doing that most recently.
I have. And the Consortium of Cities is kind of a unique organization where rather than having the cities and the counties always be at odds, which I've found in almost every city I've ever lived in, where it's Seattle, maybe King County, Seattle, whatever, the Boulder County and its communities got together and said, why don't we have a group where we regularly speak to each other? And so there's a designee from each community and one from the county, and they get together and they figure out what are some common areas of interest, some areas where we could learn together or provide, do something together, or set up something to solve a problem, or organize things better, or be more efficient, that sort of thing. They've looked at a number of issues over the last couple of years, including the issues of library districts, energy, social services, revenue sharing, and a number of other kinds of topics like that. And then they often establish subcommittees under that on particular topics for greater depth and all that sort of stuff. From our involvement on that, we've gotten a lot of audit programs and that sort of stuff out of the energy thing, and that's pretty much that.
First Wednesday?
Yes, every other month.
And they have
The
also
even months.
And they have
For the most part.
they have temporary committees also
That's right.
assigned, right? So that's another one of those things that could fill up a whole bunch of time. It's helpful to have a alternate. RTD, like Scott said, that's an elected body for the transportation district. But in the past, we've had people testify before them in terms of, route changes in town of Superior and things like that. So we've actually had, in the past, we've sent people out to attend those meetings and express our, interests and issues. But I don't think that's been a big deal recently. So. Interchange committee, like Scott said, hopefully that'll be more engaged. Hopefully we'll be able to solve that, and
It's hard to
You
have
already
meetings
described
when
that.
the other side won't meet.
won't meet exactly.
Meet,
Disagrees
yeah.
with you and won't meet with you.
As I mentioned to many of you informally, there seems to be a degree of euphoria on both sides of the bridge. This is a time in which to strike that iron. So Malcolm and I are trying to get that group reconvened. Again, 2 elected officials from both sides and the 2 city managers, a committee of 6 to discuss these particular issues.
And hopefully we can reel back the $1 million.
Yes.
That was the purpose of our lunch last week.
Very
Who's
good.
the critical unit?
I'm one of them.
Yeah, I think that I've attended it.
Joe,
That was Dana.
Joe and Dana. Eric was the alternate. We've
Yeah.
never replaced Eric because we haven't had a meeting since Eric's
Yeah.
departure.
So,
We obviously need at least one,
right.
and I can get the boot if you want.
There you go. Rocky Flats Stewardship Council. So Rocky Flats is probably most everybody's aware is the former, they made plutonium triggers. Actually, Joe might be able to speak to this more.
Yeah.
But, so the,
I can't.
that was a,
Oh.
they had a big
Sworn to secrecy.
litigation associated with the cleanup, and so they've actually cleaned up the whole site to a great degree. The industrial area, which is the central core, has technological improvements that prevent the escape of waste, including nuclear waste off the site. Seems to be working pretty well. So initially, this was the oversight. The local oversight was the Rocky Flats Coalition of Local Governments, and since the cleanup has been done or remediation is in place now, the oversight from the Office of Legacy Management of the Department of Energy, it's now the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council. And basically, what they do, they'll have monthly meetings where they make sure that the remediation is working appropriately, the dams, the water quality, all those issues aren't escaping off site. So that's, and the members are, the permanent members are Superior, Arvada, Westminster, Boulder, and Boulder County, I believe. And then they alternate also with North Glen and Golden, maybe. So I don't remember, but that's roughly the organizations. And so they talk about Rocky Flats issues specifically, and they also talk about open space areas around Rocky Flats and transportation issues around Rocky Flats as well. So it's an interesting group, actually. It's interesting. The current U.S. Attorney General, Mr. Salazar, was intimately involved with this, and he actually has a lot of interest in this particular area. So, Interior Secretary. Thank you. Yeah. So, and I'm happy to. I've done my time there, and happy to give that one up.
This is the follow-on to the coalition.
Yes, right after the cleanup was done. So now this is the oversight.
Do any state agencies attend this meeting at all?
Yes, so CDPHE, the Colorado Department of Public Health and
Yep.
Environment,
Yeah.
and the Fish and Wildlife from the federal government attends, and
Is
I
it
think
rotating
that's-
members, or is it always a?
No, they're always giving. Basically, I'll give reports.
And where do they meet?
They've been meeting at the what is it called now? Jeffco Airport. So what is that now? Rocky Mountain Metropolitan, I think that's what they call it, at the terminal there.
Okay.
So it's pretty convenient. All right, Metro Mayor's Caucus. It's a collection of, I think, 36 mayors from the Denver area, from down from Castle Rock all the way up to Longmont and out east to Bennett. And they talk about sort of high-level issues about water quality and conservation and energy efficiency, sort of, big level type of ideas. But they operate only in consensus, so they're never drafting anything. So things that we've actually signed on to are the Water Conservation Compact or something like that. I don't remember, and a few other things. So, but it's really kind of people talking about ideas and what's happening in their area. Networking. U.S. 36 Mayors and Commissioners is really the U.S. 36 highway. We've been working hard on the EIS, and now groveling for money at the federal government. So, urban drainage is you pay $1 mil, I think, on your property tax, if I remember correctly, or 1.5, and that has to do with drainage issues in the region in general.
This is the group that's been doing extensive improvements along Rock Creek and is scheduled to be doing improvements along Coal Creek.
Right. I mean, they've been very, they're helping us do our plans here, but, they spend a whole bunch of money to help with, flood control, basically, is what they started them. Okay. With the library board.
So that one just got started this year, and that we have a representative on the Louisville Library Board, which is not a budget committee, not a whatever committee. It's sort of an input to budget, input to things sort of committee, and they put together the kinds of things that they've been involved in have been trying to put together their scope, their bylaws and that sort of thing this year. And also, in the past, provided some input, I think, into who got hired, before I got on, who got hired for their librarian. And we had a lot of discussions, of course, this year about what role they might play related to the Superior ballot issue. And then they set up a few topics that they wanted to learn more about with the library and maybe provide more input into, including things like children's programs, the children's book situation, whether or not there should be more foreign language stuff in the library, Spanish in particular, and I think those are the main things. It's been a little tricky trying to be on that committee and be cooperative, but also firm enough to make sure that we don't have the usual Louisville thing. So,
I'm sorry. We're allowed one board member to attend that, or can we actually have one appointed and then have others attend the meetings?
They're
That-
public meetings.
it's a public
It's an
meeting.
advisory
They've
group
been
to
attendees.
the Louisville City Council. But we have a voting member And again, the intergovernmental agreement says Superior has the ability to appoint one member to their, I believe it's a 9-member library board.
In the ballot issue, does that, is that intact, or do we have more flexibility in terms of expanding our reach on that committee?
All of this is governed by the intergovernmental agreement. Ballot issue had nothing to do with the intergovernmental agreement.
And that sort of leads into the other question about whether I think that Louisville perceives IGA as staying absolutely intact. I don't know if we have any flexibility on that or not, and whether we want to look at that, but right now, I think they believe that is intact. That doesn't change with the passage of the ballot. I thought that it might have more flexibility, but perhaps it does not.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, we could certainly ask them to look at during the, how did you say it, the current euphoria?
There you go.
That's the word that you used, that, we could talk to them about expanding the number of official appointments, but at the end of the day, they're an advisory board to the City Council of Louisville that governs their budget, basically. So,
But there are a few things that could be considered.
And when do they meet?
They meet. They just changed it to a different Thursday than it was. So maybe the second Thursday, and that's in about 6 p.m.
okay.
Last one was 6:30 or something. Anyway.
So that's I believe, and also, then again, there's the local area agency on aging. They've always been looking for people to attend, and it's been hard. I don't think anybody's ever attended it just because of timing or whatever. It's another one in the middle of the day type of things. We could, look into that and see if they're interested in having us participate.
And how often do they meet?
Yes, I think it's like bi-monthly, but, since nobody's really ever attended it, it's,
This is
I
a
can't-
city or a county?
it's county, yeah, it's
Boulder
a county. So I think they actually meet up at the Health Department on North Broadway, if I remember correctly, but, I haven't thought about this for, 3 or 4 years, so I'm at the outer limit of my memory bank, but I'm sure staff could look into that and figure that out for us.
And how would you like to handle these
Right,
expressions
so-
of interest, availability on those particular meeting
Right,
dates?
so I think the best thing is that put this all together with the exact dates and times that these are meeting, and then people can peruse them at their leisure and figure out what interests them, and then seeing if that can work into your work schedule or whatever.
I have a short-term need on
Yeah, send it to me, and then we'll just chat.
I have a short-term need on Dr. Cog, and that is that the next meeting is the 21st, which I was assuming I would be the one to go because I'm the alternate, but I'm not going to be here, so I need somebody to go. I have unofficially talked to Deb, who's willing to go to that meeting. Appreciate if everybody, if that's okay with everybody, that gives us coverage at that meeting.
Yeah, so we can either officially, we probably, if you're going to be there and vote on something, I mean, I'm not sure what's on the agenda. I think that we actually need to tell them who our representative will be so that they have voting authority. So at least for the interim, we need to officially appoint you as either the rep or the alternate, whatever.
Yeah, they need to hear something because Dana's the rep.
Yeah.
So let's see, the 21st you said?
Yeah, that's next Wednesday's the meeting.
Oh. So we won't have a meeting before then?
No.
No.
So I don't know if we can draft a,
You can just
Very-
you can make a motion tonight.
yeah, okay, that's fine. And then
Well-
we need to let them know.
I'd like to see more balance on these external and internal committees. Kind of like to see it spread out evenly among board members more than it has in the past. So I don't know how we could go about that. But, maybe a voting process.
Sure. I mean, it makes no difference to me at all. Once again, I think spreading the pain equally around is probably helpful. So I don't have strong feelings about it. So. Do you have a specific one that you are interested in?
All of them.
Okay.
I've gone to Consortium of Cities 3 times, once with Lisa and a couple times on my own. in Lisa's place, and I'm interested in that one. I'm interested in the library board. I mean, I would go for any of them.
Maybe.
I just want to see everyone appointed across the board.
Yep. Fine with me. I'm doing the ones that I have to do, and then whatever works out for the rest of the board. So.
And just so that we can give everyone the opportunity to be the first appointee and not the alternate, because the alternate tends to not go.
Yeah.
Because,
Because why?
well, I mean, because the original appointee does their job good.
So why don't, once again, why don't you send it to me, our staff, staff, I don't care, one way or the other, with your, the top 3 of your interest, so that you can then, we can try to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. So.
I think if, we've been a little vague about when and where these meetings are.
Right.
And I think that plays into,
Yeah.
everybody ought to be able to see that and figure out their availability.
Yep. I think staff is going to send that to you.
Yep, it'll be in the digest. And just adding them up in terms of balance of load, and granted, some have differing expectations or responsibilities, but adding the board committees and the liaisons, there are 17. So presumably, some are going to get 2, some are going to get 3, based on availability. But there are 17 as it currently stands. That number could change if you create more.
Okay.
Well, and if I can clarify even further, as far as the external ones, I just want to see it spread out. And the internal, I mean, I agree with that as well, but I would hate to have a board member get all internal and no external committees, because I think it really helps you as an elected official to attend regional and county committees.
So it looks like there are, if we put in the local area on aging, then we have 6. So everybody could have their one pick.
Well,
if we
there
don't
are 2
have
on
it-
interchange. That's
It's true.
Sure, right, because they're not an alternate. So it looks like everybody could have at least one of their top choices. And once
So
again,
how are we going to go about this? Are we voting? You mentioned
Scott will send
list
you,
your top 3, and
Scott will send you the information about the times and meetings.
then after that, what do we do?
I would rank them and send them to me, and so that I can try to shuffle them around to make everybody happy. So if that sometimes is difficult, but or we can send it to staff. But I don't think we should put this on staff. It's just I think that's not a position to be for staff. So I think we can work this out. I mean, I don't see a hard time with that. But.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about that Dr. Cog meeting next week, because I won't be here.
Yeah.
And so somebody,
So we'll make a resolution. You'll make a resolution during the meeting to recommend appointing Trustee Williams to the Dr. Cog, at least temporarily.
Seconded.
So can't do it right at the moment, but just remind me.
we will do it during the formal
during the
meeting.
formal meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
The board committees on the top of the second page. Traditionally, the board has operated with 2 operating subcommittees, one dealing with finance, one dealing with transportation and safety. There have traditionally been 3 board members appointed to each. We're not limited to the number, we're not limited to the composition, they are public meetings. I think their titles are pretty much self-explanatory, and we've all been around long enough to know what their functions have traditionally been. The new ones that we've added are the 5 advisory committee liaisons, which had been added within the course of the last year.
So if you could actually, once you list those out, also when you send us the meeting times, have those meeting times as well in terms of the advisory committees.
Okay,
Just so people can see if that works as well.
understood.
And Finance Committee, so we've had 3 officials, and that, but in general, it's always encouraged that the entire board meet during Finance, because that's really, it's finance, but it's really policy, because it all has dollar figures attached to specific programs. So, and we'll start meeting in summertime. I don't know if you have a calendar yet, but
Traditionally, we generally we distribute the budget to the board in on or about August 1st, and the board starts right after Labor Day. Public hearings and public review during September, and then try to wrap it up during the month of October for the following fiscal year. Transportation safety pretty much meets on call, but it's dealt with everything from stop signs, speed limits, speed control installations, a number of things.
And they always get, like you say, the speed control. There's always somebody from the community who wants to put in a speed bump in their area, so you can anticipate having that. Those appointed to that will have to deal with that on a somewhat frequent
Crossing guard
basis.
issues at both schools, I mean, that comes up a lot.
And again, we're not limited to these. These aren't any way, shape established by formally. It's just been the board's traditional practice. So if there are desires to create others, and you indicated whether it was library or business development, and whether they have long-standing tenure or whether they're for a specific purpose and might be defined as a task force. We've had a few of those.
So can you clarify, Mayor Muckle, do we do that at this retreat? How do
I would
you
try
develop
to,
a-
so I think it would be very helpful to formalize an advisory board. We would draft a resolution that would say how many people and the limits, the dates that they would serve, and, as much as possible, the questions to be answered or the issues that they deal with. Staff would draft a resolution that we would approve at a meeting.
So for further discussion on this, would that the appropriate place be at?
I think so. I just don't think we'll have enough time before 7 o'clock to wrap that one up. So, Lisa?
Yeah, no, I think the retreat would be a great time to do that and follow on there.
Which we'll probably get there, but the other thing that we'll need to do at the retreat is review the goals to make sure that everybody's on board with the current goals, because I will remind people that Scott, and you can correct me if you're wrong, looks at that as marching orders to complete that. So if you're not happy with that, he needs to know. So,
Yeah, with Scott, you got to be careful what you ask for.
yes, because you'll frequently get it.
As if 53 goals isn't enough for you.
Correct, right. So,
Scott, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you send the list of all the committees, will you also put down the days that they meet,
Yes.
how often they meet, and the times, and
Yes.
all that, and possibly the locations if you know?
As best we can, yes.
Thank you.
You need that in order to be able to say I'm available or not. Okay.
So the mayor pro tem is, the code states, and the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, that you have to select, appoint, or whatever, I'm not sure what the terminology is, mayor pro tem at the first meeting, which that's why it has to be done tonight. And that there's not really any formal process for that to occur. So, we've always had one, so if there's more than one, then we'll have to come up with some solution to that, which probably would be voting, but we can talk about that during the meeting. And the mayor pro tem's job is, if I think I've missed, Phyllis probably doesn't keep a running tally, but I think in 12 years I've missed 3 or 4 meetings. One of them was for the birth of one of our children, and I think I was out of town once.
Is that
but-
excused or unexcused?
Yeah. Right. So I'm not anticipating the mayor pro tem running a lot of meetings, but it's really to fill in on these other external committees that if I couldn't get to them. So.
And then, according to our ordinances, it's the board's responsibility to appoint a municipal judge. The existing term expires on May 1st. So we'd need some guidance.
We will have the report from staff, which would be what's the salary and what's the impression from prosecutors and as well as defending attorneys and what the impression is, so the board can make a decision one way or the other to continue with the current judge or move on. Or
If there's a desire to open it up and do a solicitation, we'd appreciate any guidance.
I've
But
heard
if not,
just through the
we'll
grape.
certainly
I haven't
put-
had the chance to come to court, fortunately. I hear it through the grapevine, though, that it runs well. So,
Very smoothly.
okay. Other issues. So we talked about the board retreat. I think that this has always been the hard one, is trying to come up with a time where everybody can meet. So Phyllis is good at sending out emails with possible dates, and that we'll try to find it where everybody can come to the meeting. There have been years in the past where we couldn't get everybody there. Sometimes people call in by phone, but it's very helpful to have the entire board there for the meetings because you don't want to start drafting goals that one person doesn't agree with. So Phyllis will be in contact with you.
And I'm guessing the sooner the better?
Sooner the better, right. So.
Okay. Then the last we had on here was, I just wanted to, particularly for the benefit of the new board members, to recognize that this board has formally adopted a number of specific policies. Purchasing, email, public records, and the like. If there's any interest in revisiting those would continue to be the policy of the town until such time as they get changed. So listed, and there may well be more. These are the ones that I'm familiar with that have happened within the last 3+ years on my watch. If there are issues regarding these, if the board would like to review, discuss, reaffirm, or just continue to allow them to operate until there is an issue or concern, but I wanted to make sure that the board was aware that there are some formal policies that these boards have adopted, and they do continue to be the rules, if you will, until they get changed.
Lisa?
The one I wanted to talk about was agenda preparation. So my recollection is that I think 2 board members have to request something to be on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I saw something today that implied it might be 3, and I thought it was just 2. So
No.
just confirming.
Do you want to refresh our memory on the email?
Refresh our memory, I'm sorry.
On the email policy?
What would you like to know something specific?
Just an overview.
Why don't, if
Quick
it's,
synopsis.
if there's
Can you do a
memo-
quick synopsis?
Tell you what, if there's a memo, it's instead of trying to
Yeah, 'cause we're-
Yeah.
be okay,
Okay.
just to have.
And you can't do it
send
in
out
a
the-
sentence or two?
No.
All
What
right
if it's a
then.
memo?
Never mind then.
But it is caution or awareness that anything that's on the email, the town's email and web service is accessible in public record.
Public record.
And you sent an email to-
Unless it's a trademark privileged or it involves another one of the exceptions under the Open Records Act.
And I thought that if you sent it to more than 2 other board members, it also had to go to the public, to that public place.
I don't think we have the public, I
Yeah.
think we got rid of
We
the
got rid of
public
All right.
email account,
Thank you.
so people can always search for that if they want.
Thanks.
Okay? All right.
But we'll pull all of those together and distribute
Yep.
them if anybody has any issues that they'd like to raise, questions they'd like to.
So if I remember the things that need to happen, so Phyllis will send out the email about the meeting dates. Scott, you're going to send out, or put it in the memo or whatever, however you like to do this, external and internal committees with dates, times, locations.
Exactly.
Okay. And if, after looking at that, we can, if you perhaps send it to me, and then we can try to massage this where everybody can get, at least one of the areas that they're interested in.
And I'll include that in the memo with expressions of interest after that to you.
Yeah. Very good. I can't think of anything else for the moment. Questions?
I would like to ask a quick question. There's been a lot of discussion over the format of these work session meetings, whether or not they should be out around the table, that everybody, is that something to discuss in the retreat?
We can talk about it. It's frequently dependent upon what the issue is. I mean, if we're having a work session with the Historic Society about what to do with a building, that usually works better in the round table. The problem is with our AV that it's hard to, since these are televised and recorded, when we do it out there, it's hard to actually do that very well just because we have relatively antiquated equipment. So, and we don't have a cameraman in the room and the microphones aren't on the table. So, I mean, there are some technical issues why that doesn't work so well, but typically we've been doing it in this format just so
I thought
people,
I
if they're
had
watching,
been told
can-
when we had the training that the technical issues were minor, but is that my misunderstanding?
Well, it's, once again,
You won't be
it's
on
dependent.
camera, and you might not have the greatest sound for distribution outside the building.
Lisa?
And that was an issue that I also was concerned about. I think that the flow of a work session doesn't work as well up here. And at least for a few, I'd like to try it out there again. I think it's so much more sherry than up here, and I feel like the citizens get a lot better chance to feel like they're contributing.
Sure. Although at the end of the day, and I don't want to be politically incorrect, but here's the mayor being politically incorrect again. work sessions are really for the board, typically for board work to be done in preparation of meetings or whatever. So it's not really a citizens input committee. So, just as an FYI. So sometimes we have specific questions. Once again, if we're working about with ProStack and we're putting maps out and whatever, that doesn't usually work well in this format, but works better in the roundtable. But in general,
Then
work sessions are for the board.
That's specifically the one I was thinking of, that I thought doing it this way hasn't worked as well as when we've worked with them directly, and I think where we can, it'd be more
Sure.
useful.
But in this, say, using this meeting as a example, probably doing it that in a roundtable doesn't work very well. So
could we maybe possibly consider once a month where we do have a roundtable and it is the board with residents?
yeah, I mean, we could always we can do whatever we want. If we want to have a citizens roundtable input, we could schedule something like that. Probably doesn't work too well. That probably could morph into something bigger. You probably don't want to do that before a board meeting, just because then you'd run over and then people would be unhappy. But
I was just thinking, for example, it could be the first Monday of every
Yep.
month,
could certainly do that if you'd like.
It's from 7 to 8 or 7 to 9 or whatever.
Certainly, at the board's prerogative. Lisa?
I think we've probably all got lots of ideas, and I go on about the meeting I'd like to have about 6 months in advance, do the whole issue in a gym with the citizens or something, but I'll save it till the retreat.
Yeah. So, okay.
Mayor.
George?
George
Trustee
Kuffner, 119
Kuffner.
South Fourth.
You're still a trustee.
I have a question. Is it be possible to get the information and approval of the IGA agreement with Boulder County Coalition of the Trailhead before late Thursday? Since it's going to be you get it Thursday and it's going to come for the board on Monday, is there any way possible of pushing that agreement up so we could look at it a little more
I'm trying to
prior to Thursday,
trying-
late Thursday?
I'm trying to understand. The answer is I'm sure that we can work something out, but I want to make sure that I understand the question.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't quite get it yet. Sorry.
I'd like to have the approval. It's on the work session for tonight.
Oh, no. The review of the next agenda.
Approval of the IGA agreement in Boulder County, for Boulder County and the coalition of the Trailhead. I would like to have that prior to Thursday before the meeting.
I'm not sure where they are with that, so I can't. I don't know if you have it already or not.
Don't know if it'll be even available. This is our anticipation of agenda items that are going to be coming forward in 2 weeks, if it gets done. But no, I'm not going to be making it available to the public before I share it with the board. That was the discussion of when does the board want to receive their agendas? Thursday nights, and it goes public Thursday night.
It goes usually 4:30, 5 o'clock. You got Friday. That's not enough time. If it's possible, I'd like to have it a little earlier than that, since it is an intergovernmental agreement to study. Not just Friday and then Monday we come to a board meeting.
Well, the board can rediscuss when they want to get to, once again.
And also that goes for E, approval of the agreement with CoCal Landscaping for annual planning. That should be done before 1 day or 2 days. Citizens should have more time to digest this a little bit, not just throw it at them.
Right. So once again, you'll get them when the board gets it, and if the board wants to get it sooner, then we can talk about it.
On
But
something important like that, you should have a little more time, not push through.
okay. All right. We can take a couple-minute break, and then we'll start with the meeting. We'll start with
some wrestling over families.
I
Reports?
Yeah, I was trying to remember.
March 8th.
Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting, or it's actually a special meeting of the Town of Superior Board of Trustees for April 12th, 2010. Phyllis, if you call a roll.
Mayor Andrew Muffin.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lisa Skuma.
Here.
Trustees Joe Sorelli.
here.
Dana D'Souza.
Here.
Elia Gregorius.
Here.
George Kuppner.
Here.
Deborah Williams.
Here.
Town Manager Scott Randall.
Here.
Town Attorney Kendra Carberry.
Here.
Town Clerk Lois Ruben here.
Great, thanks. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda by Trustee Skuma, second by Trustee D'Souza. All in favor?
No, you should have your.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. Reports, questions, and issues.
I'm sorry.
Trustee D'Souza, anything to report?
To report.
All right. Trustee Kuffner.
No, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Trustee Sorelli.
Well, I almost got to go on a bus tour with
Back
representatives from the federal government to look at 36, and that got canceled at the last minute based upon what they were suggesting we would all have to do if we were to get the money that we were seeking. And so that didn't happen. And they had a teleconference afterwards, which I did not attend, and I don't really know what happened at that. But the almost bus tour was kind of fun.
There you go. So they were going to talk about the TIFIA, so transportation infrastructure, something or other, generating economic, that's the Tiger one. But basically, it's a loan program to spend money to enhance the construction of the US 36 highway. But the requirements seem to be somewhat egregious, and so they step back and trying to understand what that process will be.
So I do have one other thing to report. I and Trustee Skumatz, both of us entirely for personal reasons, attended a Climate Smart Loan Program training that was right here in Superior last Wednesday. And so I think there's intended to be at least one more class. And you have to attend one of those classes if you're interested in applying for one of the Climate Smart loans to do something to your house. And so if you're thinking, if any of the residents are thinking of doing that, they should find out when the next class is. I think the cutoff.
28th.
Okay, the cutoff for the loan application, I think I saw it today, was May 7th.
That's right.
For this round of loans. So it's an interesting program where probably Trustee Skumatz knows much more about it than I do, but if you get one of these loans, the loan actually goes onto your property and becomes kind of part of your mortgage payment. And so it would, if you sold the house, it would roll with that and so forth. It's a good program, although you don't know the interest rate going in, which is not the best thing in the world. But anyway, I thought I'd mention that. And residents should check in the website. I think if you Google Climate Smart, you'll get there, and to find out when the time for that class, and it should be right here. It takes about an hour.
Great, thanks. Trustee Skumatz.
The only thing I might add to that is to make sure the residents understand that one of the reasons that this sort of following on the property tax thing is a different and important twist is because that makes it feasible potentially to invest in long payback devices. If you're worried that you might move in 3 years or 5 years, you're not going to invest in anything that will take longer than 3 or 5 years to pay back. If it's going to stay with your house, then investing in things like solar and other renewables starts to make more sense. So that's sort of the key twist of this sort of a thing. And it was great to see. And we also had soon to be sworn in Trustee Hansen there as well.
That's right.
There were between 35 and 40 people there. So a couple of announcements. One about the Resource Conservation Committee. We're going to, on May 15th, we're having a hazardous waste collection event, and that includes also computers, and so people might put that on their calendars. And this Wednesday, we start with the compost and yard waste facility open. So that's Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday generally. So that's opening for the season. I attended 2 CML-related, Colorado Municipal League related meetings over the last period, and one of them had to do with what legislative things are moving forward. The other had to do with the Finance Committee there, and what the Finance Committee is planning to do is what they did this year, which is hold dues steady, but allow a 3% discount if you pay early. So just trying to be as mindful as they can of what's happening with the local economy for all the cities in the state. Went to a couple of library committee meetings since the last meeting, and one of them was discussing whether, with Louisville, one of them was deciding sort of at what degree we might or might not want assistance from Louisville in related to the ballot issue. The other, though, we once the ballot issue was passed, we went over the schedule, and I'm providing to the manager the library schedule to put up on the website. But just a couple of things that might be of interest are there's a book discussion on Wednesday the 21st, and they're going to be discussing Madonnas of Leningrad by an author named Dean, and that's something we can drop in, and I think that's kind of an interesting adult thing, and a lot of children's events, and particularly this week is National Library Week, and there's an open house next Saturday related to Library Week, and it's unfortunately at exactly the same time as our Arbor Day celebrations, 10 to 12, but maybe you can do both. So that's, and we'll have something in the newsletter, and also I'm trying to see if we can do a bill insert as well, and we'll keep you posted on that. But definitely, I think the information will be available on the website. They have new services like a DVD walk-in where you don't have to pre-register for it. You can just go in and get them. The latest statistics that I got show Superior holding steady at about 20% of use of the children's, 20 to 26% of use of the children's programs, 20% of usage and cards. So that's about what I'm finding there. The Historic Committee had a very interesting announcement, and I hope that they have some, and as the liaison, anyway, on Thursday, April 22nd, adults and children might want to go to the event that's going to happen at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Thursday, April 22nd, where they're going to have a presentation on Margaret or Molly Brown, reformer, activist, and philanthropist, and it's where a person acts as that historic person, carries out a whole discussion as if they live that life and answers questions in character, and it's a really interesting thing, and I think it's of potential interest to both adults and children. The last thing I wanted to mention is I'm participating in the Rock Creek restoration work that's going to be happening in early May, and I don't know if any of the other board members are, but that's something you might put on your calendar. You need to, Karen Invierowitz knows how to register for that. I think that's all my reports.
Okay. Trustee Gergros?
Nothing to report.
Trustee Williams?
Yes, I was not able to make an OSAC meeting last March, but I will be making this week's meeting, so you'll hear a report in 2 weeks. And then also I wanted to find out if we have a preliminary proposal plan for the 3 parks, and if that's possible that we could put that on the town website so residents can review that.
I'm not sure, Mr. Randall, do you know where, I think that ProStack has been working on it, so I don't know how far they are with that.
I haven't seen anything since the last presentation, which was made to the board probably 7-8 weeks ago. So I don't know if there's anything further refined than what you saw in the last public workshop session.
Can
But I'll
that,
check.
can that go up?
Certainly.
Okay, great.
And it's on there anyway in terms of the web streaming of the board meeting, but if we wanted to have it as
The
a
actual,
separate...
yeah, the actual plan itself. Is there, or do you know where?
Sorry, I have to have you come to the mic. Sorry, Mr. Payne. Yeah.
Jim Payne, 2475 Clayton Circle. The basic map is available right on the homepage, the town's homepage, on the
And-
right-hand column.
Okay, and what does the link say?
That link, it's just a link to the
Actual, is it a PDF or?
PDF of
It's a
the
PDF.
map. And all the other information is on is in the board packet from February 22nd.
The particulars on it. Okay. All righty. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else?
That is it for now.
All right. So let's see. We've had an election recently, and so we'll have 2 new board members joining us, which is always good to bring some fresh input. We, as people are well aware, we passed the library ballot measure, close but passed, and so that we'll continue to have library services currently with City of Louisville, and something that has been near and dear to my heart for a really long time, which is moving elections to November, passed by a huge margin. I think that that's going to be a fantastic thing and increase voter turnout. So I was pretty excited about all those. Had a meeting with U.S. 36 mayors and commissioners talking about the debriefing on the Tiger Grant application that we had just chatted about. There is some concern that the Fast Track's revenue is going to be short to fulfill all the desires of the municipalities in the area to build their trains and the bus rapid transit. RTD's talking about going back to the ballot. I think that they've decided that this is not the year to do that, and we'll be pushing that out, but I'm not sure they've actually committed to that.
Is there a question of it being short, or I thought it definitely is short?
Yeah, there's no question.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to be, this is the mayor
The
being
political-
politically correct.
okay.
Yes. They don't have enough money to finish it out.
Yeah.
Well, they have enough money if you push it out to 2035, so.
Just a few billion short on
Yeah.
all their stuff.
Part of the problem is that there's the Penta-P proposal, which is a public-private partnership for the west corridor that's using up a whole bunch of the cash associated with that to fulfill the requirements. And so that's the reason why some of these other corridors are not being built, at least within a reasonable time frame. So, and I think that's that.
Can I ask a question on 36, though?
Yep.
How did Brookfield, how are they paying for the overpass there? Because
Oh.
wouldn't that have had to go through the EIS?
I think that
approval
was.
and
I think it was
everything,
included in the EIS. I think that they actually had previous federal dollars. I think it was probably in
They
the
did.
transportation
That was it.
improvement plan.
Okay.
I haven't followed that very carefully, but I think that there's at least some money associated with that.
Okay.
So, anything else, Mr. Randall?
3 very brief items. As I shared with you in your weekly digest, we've canceled Citizens Academy 2 because of lack of participation. Sounds almost like
I know. It sounds like a movie.
a movie. Lack of participation. We only had 1 application received prior to the time in which the academy was going to be held. We will try it again in the fall. We'd moved from Tuesdays to Wednesdays. Maybe Wednesdays are more of a conflict, so we'll ask if there are other days of the week that are more convenient. So we will try that again. Rocky Mountain Fire Protection District did come back with the revised plans, as I've shared the information with the board. The zoning variation that the board defeated at its last meeting, asking for a 42-foot building height. They have now submitted amended plans calling for a building 38 feet 9 inches tall, well under the requirement, so the building permit has been issued. And the third was, I've been looking for feedback from the board on the request from Boulder County regarding funding for an architectural dig. They have done a dig south of Superior, not within our corporate limits, but adjacent to our south border. They found some interesting artifacts. They're asking the town for $3,000 to participate in that, in the restoration of those works. And I'm looking for the go-ahead from the board. Yeah.
So I think you heard from a couple of board members. How many more do you need to hear from?
No. Boulder County heard from board members.
We need to, we're spending money, so that we need to actually have a resolution.
First indication I heard of this was last Thursday when it went into your digest, which was, where is our check?
Yeah.
And it was like,
Right. So I guess what I'm going to recommend to the staff is at the next, regularly scheduled meeting that I think that there's been general interest in this.
if there's enough headroom, we can proceed. It's certainly
so
within my financing authority.
You could do that as well if you like,
Yeah.
whatever your pleasure is,
Okay.
either way.
And so the $3,000 was for carbon testing, I think,
Yes.
wasn't that they needed for that? And that also, although we won't be able to have any artifacts or anything like that, it would be nice if we could get something that we could put in our museum, right? And I thought Boulder County was okay with.
We're going to be getting
Yeah,
some
photos.
products. We
Yeah.
will be getting photographs. We will be getting a narrative, if
Okay.
you will, of the dig.
Right.
But because the artifacts can't leave the particular archaeological site, we won't have the benefit of getting any of those for display locally.
But we get pictures of
Yep,
them and all this sort of
exactly.
stuff to put in.
And my understanding, and I certainly could be wrong, and the carbon testing will obviously help clarify this, but I heard it was like 2,000 years old, some number like that. So,
It's-
it's
Yeah.
really
It was a
very
significant
interesting.
find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, we'll proceed.
Great. Ms. Carberry?
I don't know.
Ms. Harden? Okay. That brings us to item number 5, public comment and consent agenda or non-agenda items. Yes, you can comment again at the next meeting.
That's what I was going to say.
Gladys Forshey, 404 South 3rd Avenue. I have some handouts for you.
Do you want to give it to the, do whatever you feel best, but do you want to do it to the next board?
Yeah.
Or you could do it twice.
Whatever your pleasure is, but if it's something that you think action needs to occur, you probably want to give it to at the next meeting.
Okay, so then I'll save my comments until the next meeting?
No, the
or-
next board,
The
about
next-
half
In
an
a few
hour.
minutes.
About a half hour?
Yeah.
We like this so much, we're doing 2 meetings tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I'll go to the new board.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. Additional public comment on consent agenda or non-agenda items?
I have one comment to make.
Sure, okay.
I'd like the board to be made available for citizen input on your reappointments coming up. That's such as, you have 3 appointments, and I would appreciate if citizens could contact board members for their input on the recommendations of yours.
For tonight's, you mean for the mayor pro tem or for other?
No other.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
got, I'll say, you got town manager, you got attorney,
All
you
those.
got all these appointments is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
And I'd like the board to be available for comment from citizens so they can make the right decision.
Yep. Board is always available, so, in the phone book, via email. Know where I live, so, great. Additional
And
public,
then- Then I have one other question. Are we going to make the appointments for the pro staff appointments?
That's the
Yes.
only one that's one.
That's
Yeah.
the next item.
That's the only thing on the agenda.
okay. Additional
Well, I'm
public,
just asking.
additional public comment? Seeing none, move to consent agenda. And it's not, shouldn't really be, I'm going to,
It's not complete, so.
yeah, it's not on the consent agenda, so,
You're going to have to take it off.
yeah, so we'll remove it from the
We
consent
should
agenda.
pull that so we could put a name in there.
Yes, exactly. So, let's see, so I've polled the board. In general, I've heard favorable responses to actually all the 2 people that we interviewed. I think they were all both excellent, both fit in very well, and I'd like to make sure that we can, if somebody is not appointed tonight, that we can work them into another committee, because I think that was really they were outstanding interviews. That being said, the board seemed to be interested in appointing Darrell McCool, so that's who I'm going to recommend.
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then. Trustees comments?
Do you want to make the motion instead?
No, go ahead now.
I'll make a motion that we appoint a resolution of the Town Superior Resolution Number R-20, Series 2010, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town Superior making an appointment to the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Committee Pro Staff, with the name filled in as Daryl McCool.
Okay, motion by trustee Skumas, second by trustee Kupner. Further discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Randall, if you would pass that along to Ms. McCool, and if you could also let the other gentleman know that he wasn't appointed, but that would encourage him significantly to
The board was
explore
very
other
impressed
options.
and would hope that
Yes.
he'd be interested in considering another vacancy.
Great.
There's some coming up, yeah,
Okay.
immediately.
All right. That brings us to item number 7, swearing in of the mayor and the board of trustees, new members. Ms. Harden, I believe that brings us to you. So, you can stay up here and then swap, but, yep. So I'll request the newly elected members to join us up here at the dais.
Thank you, George.
Yeah, you guys can't leave yet, so
Thank you, Dana.
you can't escape quite yet.
You can't take that.
Thank you.
I know Matt's going to get pictures, so
I go ahead and sign
you
it?
have maybe all four of you stand under the...
Sure. Do you want to do this individually, or how do you want to do this?
I want to see how good you are at listening to the oath, repeating it.
Yeah, no.
Remember we had,
have to do better at drainage. Okay, that's the, yeah, I do. Thank you. All right.
Oh, did you get? I think it needs there first.
suitable for framing.
Oh, all together?
Yeah. Oh, you're just going to take an oath.
They're picking their seats.
I did, I'm so sorry, please.
I will read. I'll read the oath, and then when I say I, just say your name, and then say I do, and then done. Okay?
Raise your right hand.
I do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and faithfully perform the duties of the office of, this is for the mayor, upon which I am about to enter, and the rest of you for trustee.
I do.
Okay?
All right. That was pretty painless. All right. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this meeting. So, thank you very much. So we'll adjourn this meeting, and we'll take a couple minutes break. There we go.
Depends
All right.
if you're
It depends how
facing
you
us.
see it.
or-
Well, thank you, everybody, and we're actually running ahead of schedule for our 8 o'clock meeting, so I'd like to call to order Town of Superior Board of Trustees and Liquor Licensing Authority for April 12th, 2010. And Phyllis, if you'd call the roll.
Mayor Andrew Muckle,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lisa Stumas,
Here.
Trustees Joe Sorelli,
Here.
Delia Gregoris,
Here.
Chris Hansen,
Here.
Sandy Pennington,
Here.
Deborah Williams,
Here.
Town Manager Scott Randall,
Here.
Town Attorney Kendra Carberry,
Here.
Town Clerk Phil Sargent here.
Great, thanks. And I'd like to give an official welcome and congratulations to the newly elected members. So, and also would like to say that for everybody who did run, it's always, I think we all understand how hard it is to put yourself out there, and causes a lot of stress for everybody involved, and appreciate people doing that. So, with that, move to the approval of the agenda. And any changes or approval of tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Trustee Skumatz?
To approve the agenda as stands.
Okay. Motion by Trustee Skumatz, second by Trustee Gregoris. Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. That brings us to presentations. So let me pull out my presentations. Actually, give me a half moment. So is Eric? Eric's not here, is he?
And it's
Goodness gracious. I just should have. Okay, thanks. All right. So, we didn't get a chance to do this for Trustee Rosenfeld when he left, and he had to move out of town, so I feel bad about that. But I'd like to read a proclamation of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior in appreciation of the service of Eric Rosenfeld, whereas Eric Rosenfeld was first elected to the Board of Trustees in April 2006. He generously shared his professional skills by participation with his practical approach to the town's capital budget and other operations. He has taken an active role in the purchase and preservation of open space and in the revision of the comprehensive plan. His period of service has seen significant change in town and established the basis for the town's development and position in this region. Whereas Eric Rosenfeld has been a strong advocate for the citizens of Superior, and the town of Superior has benefited from Mr. Rosenfeld's time and energy and thoughtful participation on the board. The town of Superior hereby proclaims its appreciation to Eric Rosenfeld for his significant contribution to the community. So, if you would pass that along to Mr. Rosenfeld, Phyllis, I'd appreciate it. So, clap, 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 clap. Right. That brings us to somebody here tonight that, I'd like to read a proclamation of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior in appreciation of the service of Dana D'Souza. Whereas Dana D'Souza was appointed to the Board of Trustees in the Town of Superior on November 8, 2004, and was then elected to the Board of Trustees in 2006. She has generously shared her professional skills by her participation on the Denver Regional Council of Governments Board of Directors and her practical approach to the town's Transportation and Safety Committee. She has taken an active role in the purchase and preservation of over 212 acres of open space in the town and in the revision of the comprehensive plan. She continues to serve on the Open Space Advisory Committee. Her period of service has seen significant change in town and established the basis for the town's development and position in this region. Whereas Dana D'Souza has been a strong advocate for the citizens of Superior, the town of Superior has benefited from Ms. D'Souza's time and energy and thoughtful participation in the board. The town of Superior hereby proclaims its appreciation to Dana D'Souza for her significant contribution to the community. So, anybody have anything to say? I'd like to say, so I read the proclamation, but it's been a joy to work with you, and we all move on, but it's been great to be. We'll see you around the neighborhood, but it's been great to work with you. So, there you go. Perfect. Trustee Gregoris.
And then I have loved serving with you for the last 4 years and sitting next to you and fighting over the chips and the healthy snacks. But I appreciate your love for this town and how hard you've worked behind the scenes and on the board, so thank you for that.
Lisa?
And I've enjoyed serving with you for these 5.5 years or whatever it's been. And you've always tried to be very rational and thorough and so on in your analysis of things. But I want you to know that you can't be a stranger, that I really try hard to go back to old board members, or I should say former board members, and make them stay involved and make them continue to provide input. So you will not be a stranger.
Great. Well,
Can I?
of course.
Oh, okay. I've only worked on the board with you for 2 years, but I've been on OSAC with you for at least 6 years, and looking forward to continuing that on OSAC. But I will dearly miss you on the board.
Okay. Trustee Searle?
I just would like to add, and I've shared this with Dana, that I've watched her as a trustee, as a citizen, and then as co-trustee, and then worked with her outside of the board on a couple of things, and I was truly impressed with her growth as a trustee, and she did a wonderful job for the town, and she's going to be missed. Tried to talk her into running, but she wouldn't listen. But thank you, Dana.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Andrew? Yeah.
I just wanted to, as a resident of Superior, I want to thank you for all your energy that you put into running this town. Thank you.
Dana D'Souza, 1752 Eldorado Drive. Thank you all. Really, I think for me the highlight has been working with the board and knowing that there's other people that volunteer their time with me on that board and really help shape the town. So thank you, and thank you for all the wonderful comments. And it is going to be hard watching you all at home on my couch. And I have to say, the first item up for you guys is a liquor license. So I'm sure the board is off to a great start. So thank you all, and thank you for the comments.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
I'll be watching you all.
All right, that brings us to 4C, which is a proclamation of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior in appreciation of the service of George Kuffner. It seems kind of funny since he's been attending more meetings, I think, than anybody in the entire room. But whereas George Kuffner was appointed to the Board of Trustees in the Town of Superior on January 8th, 2010 to fill a vacancy until April 6th, 2010 election, whereas he's an active and thoughtful participant in the community, where he's been a strong advocate for the citizens of original Superior, where he's been a resident of the Town of Superior his entire life. The Town of Superior hereby proclaims its appreciation to George Kuffner for his contribution to the community. So thank you very much, George.
George Kuffner, 109 South Sport. I want to congratulate everybody who won their seats. I know they got a lot of hard work, and I'll be behind every one of you, and I will attend the meetings like I have.
Thank you. And I have to say, George, it's I know that you're not going to suffer from the illness that afflicts every former board member and former mayor, which is that they never show up ever again. So I anticipate seeing you Monday nights from here on out. So thank you very much for filling in for the vacancy. That's a hard thing to do, and really appreciate your hard work and coming prepared to the meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Trustee Skomats.
I just wanted to say it was a pleasure to serve with you and to serve with somebody who's served so long in the past as well. I don't think anybody is going to be able to equal your record for how many years you've been on this board, and thank you for all that time.
So, great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, George.
Let's see. That brings us to Arbor Day, which, always good, but seems like a little bit of a letdown after all this. But I'd like to read a proclamation of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior declaring April 17th, 2010 Arbor Day, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, but not in this county, and countless other wood products. And trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business area, and beautify our community. And trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas Arbor Day is a part of the Million Tree Initiative to plant 7,000 trees in 7 days. Although this might be 7 and 7, this is I think a leftover from Mayor Hickenlooper's from a couple of years ago, but still a great idea. The Town of Superior hereby proclaims April 17th, 2010 as Arbor Day. Thank you very much. So,
And can I make a comment about that?
certainly, Jessica Gross.
I think that's a great event. I would highly encourage, especially the new trustees, to attend. I've been there the last couple of years. Sometimes the weather is not the best, but it's worth going even if it's cold outside. I know Juanita does a tremendous job, and I think for all of us to support this day, there'll be a lot of things that will come up on the calendar. This, for me, it's personally only a child's soccer game that I'm coaching would take place in front of this. I think it's a great opportunity for us to come out as a community.
Right. I agree with that, and as much participation in this as possible would be great. Just as a side note, I'm not sure that I'm actually going to be able to get to this, and the tangential side note is that I don't think I'm going to be able to do the library reading, which also occurs at the same time over in the Louisville Library. So if anybody is interested in doing a children's reading, that would be fantastic. So, all right. With that, it brings us to the public comment on consent agenda and non-agenda items. And I believe that Gladys has something for us.
Gladys, 24 Southern Avenue. Now I'll hand out my handout.
Thank you, Gina.
I wasn't able to come to the last meeting, and there wasn't minutes in my packet about the last meeting, but I wanted to discuss the fire cart. The Superior Volunteer Fire Department Board and firefighters in 1972 did research on this fire cart.
I don't want to interrupt. Remind us specifically which cart is it, the one out here?
The one in the lobby.
Okay, thanks.
The Colorado Firefighters Association was the first place that we went to. And then Marlene Machinita, Vargas, Pampapini knew some of the older people that had lived here during the mining days, and then Mert Walter, that was secretary for the fire board, and I kind of picked it up, and we got it from the Morrison family and from the Abbott family that this fire cart was purchased by original town residents, the coal mining town residents. The town of Superior was not involved in it in any way. It was kept at the company's store. Then everybody knew where it was at when in those days. So that cart belongs to the residents of original town, not to the town of Superior, not to town staff, not to Rocky Mountain Fire, not to Superior Historical Commission. Superior Fire Department had possession of that cart, and if you'll look at one of the second page there, it will show pictures that we carted that fire cart to several state fire conventions at Sterling and Lamar and Manitou Springs, and we ran it in the Boulder Powwow parade. Once the fire department was reactivated, and again, it was stored at the fire station on Cold Creek Drive that the fire department built. That fire cart was controlled by town staff without contacting the residents regarding moving it anywhere. That town staff allowed that cart to be moved to Cherryville Fire Department over on Baseline Road. And that cart was never given to Cherryville Fire Department when Superior Volunteer Fire Department went tax district. Never, ever, ever. The staff had no right to do that. And again, I can say that the town does not own that fire cart. George fought tooth and toenail to get that fire cart brought back from Cherryville back into the town of Superior. And the town staff still felt that they needed to control that cart. Superior Fire Department was our own entity. We had our own fire board. And I have the minutes from those meetings that I can prove to you that. And as I say, the photos there prove that the fire department controlled that fire cart. The staff should not control that cart now. That cart needs to be set up correctly rather than the way it is now. The wheels can be, if the wheels are a problem as far as being turned, they can be blocked. There is no reason why they can't. That cart is very highly accepted in the Boulder County historic community because there's not that many of them around anywhere. So, one more time, the town board, the town staff has no authority, no control over that. And the residents are the one that needs to control that fire cart. And I am expecting to see it set up and something done with it rather than in the position that it is now.
Okay, thank you.
My other thing is, I am extremely concerned about the ingress-egress into original town, out of original town, Memorial Day weekend with this bike race. And I want to know how residents in original town are going to get in and out due to that bicycle race.
Okay.
So when am I going to get an answer?
I think it's part of the traffic control plan, but for the race, but I don't think anybody at the board here has it on them.
So when am I going to get an answer? Memorial Day weekend isn't that far off.
Well, if you want to, it's one of those things that, the board is not going to be able to answer this. If you want to talk to the staff that's working on this, they probably would have much more input about that. If that doesn't work for you, then I'm sure that anybody here at the board, you could contact them and they would look into it. But,
Okay, and so who's staff that's working on it?
Mr. Randall, do you happen to know who the contact person would be for the Morgul?
On this one, I'd like to take that question rather than refer it to anybody else on staff.
Okay. Right.
So, one more time, when am I going to get an answer?
When you chat with staff.
The Arbor Day is superb, but I think that you definitely need to look at the fact that of all the trees that Coal Cow has killed in this town, you're going to say, oh, Coal Cow doesn't kill them. Well, you look at every tree. I don't care whether it's on Rock Creek Parkway. I don't care if it's in Children's Park. I don't care where it's at in this town. 2 to 3 feet outside of that, from the base of that tree, Coal Cow has sprayed pesticides or chemicals or something that will kill grass so they don't have to trim. Now, and you wonder why your trees die? You better do something about Coal Cow stopping the use of so many chemicals so that your trees don't die that you plant on Arbor Day.
Okay, thank you. Additional public comment on consent agenda or non-agenda items? Going once. Going twice. Sold. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. And remaining, on the consent agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of the Historical Commission, the Open Space Advisory Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Committee meetings, and approval of a minor subdivision of the Town of Superior for the Ice House minor subdivision, approval of a notice to set show cause hearing for the Rock Creek Pizza Dough liquor license application for the Liquor Licensing Authority Board, and approval of a liquor license renewal for the Superior Liquor Market. So that'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda by Trustee Skumath, second by Trustee Williams. Further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. With that, this brings us to item number 7, which is appointment of the mayor pro tem. So the we were chatting about this earlier in the meeting. The mayor pro tem is the person that would has to be appointed by code during this meeting, the first meeting of the Board of Trustees. It's the person that would help run meetings if I was not here, and generally would help fill in for the regional committee meetings like Metro Mayors and US 36 Mayors and Commissioners if I was unable to make it. The running the meetings, also I chatted about earlier, I don't think that that's too likely to occur, at least not very often, since I was reflecting back, but I think it's on the last 12 years I've missed less than a handful of meetings, so I'm not anticipating that being a big requirement. It's really been about the understanding the regional context in the meetings that I otherwise would go to. So that's sort of the highlights of the mayor pro tem. So I think that I've heard that at least a couple of people are interested in this position, and if that's the case, I guess I would let them self-nominate, and then if you want to spend a couple of minutes describing why you think you're the person, that would be great. So, Trustee Gurus and Trustee Skumatz. Trustee Gurus, would you like to start?
I'll say ladies first, actually.
Okay. Trustee Skumatz.
Thanks. I would like to nominate myself for Mayor Pro Tem. And as the mayor mentioned, the position is more than running meetings. It's being ready to immediately fill in for the mayor at a meeting that he can't attend. I've been active on the board from day one and continuously thereafter. I've been active in the consortium of cities and the statewide in the Colorado Municipal League, and previously on the Interchange Commission. So I've tried to be in positions that let me learn what's happening in the region. I'm familiar with many of the players and can participate in discussions, I think, with credibility immediately, locally, regionally, and statewide. When I've become active in these organizations, I've worked hard to be productive and involved and try to become part of the leadership team to give superior extra credibility beyond what our size might ordinarily warrant, which I think helps give us credibility if I needed to stand in on any other group for the mayor. I've tried to stay up on policies and issues in the region, and actually I looked at how many of the people on the various committees that the mayor serves on that I already know, and the vast majority of those are not from any of my appointments, but they're rather from the activities I've gotten involved in that any of the board members can be involved in. I haven't served on Dr. Cog, but I took all the Dr. Cog training and the certification, and as a consequence, met Dr. Cog's staff and a lot of representatives from the councils and cities across the region. I'm on Colorado Municipal League committees, and any one of us can be involved in that, and that's not an appointment, and we can be on it and interact with regional and state council staff, mayors from all around the state and region on many of they have many subcommittees. I've tried to go beyond sort of the basic assignments to work to make sure I'm engaged at as many levels as possible. And I do this not because it helps my job, which it certainly does not, but because I think it's part of doing this job the best I can, and lets me bring a lot of things back to Superior, including grants and programs and that sort of thing. And being Mayor Pro Tem works the other way as well. On these other kinds of things that I'm appointed to or that I serve on because I have gotten involved, it gives me additional credibility at those state and regional meetings as well to be a Mayor Pro Tem. I do my homework, and I've never phoned it in except when I literally have phoned it in to try to go to the extra efforts when I try to arrange for a conference call for a work session or the kind of meeting that I can't attend. When I've asked on travel, I almost always have gone the extra mile to try to not miss it with a conference call, a memo, or provide some other kind of participation or input. I bring a strong financial understanding as an economist, and I attend all the budget meetings, but I'm really can quickly follow up complex fiscal issues that may arise in any of the meetings on a real quick basis. I've consistently been involved, engaged, done my homework, and worked to be up on the issues, and I've changed my travel schedule repeatedly to try to keep my board absences very low. I have good attendance at board meetings, and I go the extra mile to make myself also available to citizens as well. For the part that is running meetings, and yes, that is part of it, I've successfully chaired a number of boards, citizen committees, civic groups, and blue ribbon panels, and run countless meetings, probably several hundred, and I'm an experienced facilitator for focus groups and so on. Nationally known people have told me they'd be in any committee I chair because I run an involving, friendly, but efficient and effective meeting. I looked at the laundry list of the issues that had come up over that the mayor had filled in on what the several committees that he serves on, and almost all of them were things that were directly my areas that I'm comfortable with. There's been quite an environmental charge from the Metro Mayor's Council. There's been legislative issues, which I've been able to be involved in on the Colorado Municipal League again, not an appointment, but something I got involved in as a board member. EISs and FEISs, those are things I've prepared as a professional. Information on grants, water issues. I've taken all the water training that that Dr. Cog gives. Parkways and toll roads are direct economic issues. Business development, shopping center, those are kinds of things that we've done in the past. And fast tracks and faster are things that I'm not as up on as those other issues, but I feel very comfortable with mass transit issues because I've served on mass transit committees in other communities that I've lived in. When I looked at the list of who's on the Metro Mayor's Council, I knew a quarter of them to speak very comfortably with them. And again, the vast majority of that is not from any committees I've been appointed to by this board, but committees I got involved in because I just tried to be active in things that we all have opportunities to be on. I think when I looked at what there are around from the committee, from being involved on CML and in the Dr. Cog training, I knew representatives of mayors or councils from about 25 of the cities around, and knew 21 of the, probably a couple, maybe 24 or more of those in the very most immediate cities. More than just to wave, but rather to speak to very friendly. I've worked hard to try to earn your respect and the position with what I've already done and what I've demonstrated I'll be continuing to do. And I'd like to ask your vote for Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Mr. Gregorus?
Mayor, I'd like to nominate myself for Mayor Pro Tem. And before I get started, I want to say on record that I think Trustee Skumas has worked harder than any one of us over the times that I've served with her. There's no question about that. The reason why I would like to run for Mayor Pro Tem, I feel like our town is facing some difficult issues coming up. I feel the next 2 to 5 years are crucial. And my strengths, I don't like to either brag or say things. I'd rather work behind the scenes to unify this town. I feel that there's been a lot of division, and I'd like to unify Rock Creek, Original Town, Sagamore, the Chamber of Commerce, the Homeowners Association Board. After all, we all live in this town. We all love this town, or else we wouldn't live here. Nobody's forcing us to live in Superior. And I think bringing this unity and finding creative solutions to the problems that we're about to face, I don't think it's going to get any better in the near future. So if we're not united, I think we're going to have some major issues in this town. I also would like to tell you, if I do get elected this year, tonight, that when my term runs out, I will not run for Mayor Pro Tem again. I think it's important to give other trustees the opportunity to serve in this position. So this would be a one-time thing. And I would ask for your vote. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody else interested? Any other comments from the board?
I think I'd just like to comment that we're lucky to have two people so well qualified to run for this position, and I'd support, I think we'll be well served by either. So I don't know how we can proceed, but thank you both for showing your interest.
Yes, thank you for both. And I guess the way that, I'm not seeing any other way besides voting to figure out who's going to be the Mayor Pro Tem. So the question is whether or not you want to do that in a secret ballot or just on the record. So I guess I'd favor the latter, but
On the record.
strong.
On the record.
On the record.
Public.
Yes.
It's a public.
On the record.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. Well, we can start down with Trustee Pennington. I haven't said that yet.
Are you asking me for my vote?
Uh-huh.
I vote for email.
Okay. Trustee Gregorus, I suspect
I'll
that
vote
you're
for myself.
vote for yourself. Trustee Williams.
I vote for Trustee Gregoris.
Okay. I'm voting for Trustee Skumatz.
Likewise.
Okay.
I too am voting for Trustee Skumatz.
I'm voting for Elia.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, Trustee Gregorus, you're the new Mayor Pro Tem. So.
Congratulations.
Yep.
And I know that means
So let's see. I think we're done. I don't know if there's a resolution for that. But I don't think there is.
Just a motion.
Motion. So I'll make the motion to nominate or say that Trustee Gregorus will be the next Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second? Trustee Cirelli. Further discussion? All in favor? Hanson, Cirelli, Muckle, Williams, Gaguris, and Pennington opposed. Ms. Gomez, that motion carries.
I was actually.
No, she was in favor.
Oh, you're in favor? I'm sorry.
Unanimous.
Okay, unanimous. And Skumatz, so that motion carries. Thank you. Anything else to come before the board?
Yes, one thing.
Yeah, me too. Trustee
Okay.
Cirilli?
Well, we have a number of appointments to make that we haven't made yet, but the one that immediately is, at least has to be addressed on a temporary basis, if nothing more, is we have a Dr. Cog representative that had been Trustee D'Souza, and there's a Dr. Cog meeting on the 21st that I have been the alternate, but I can't be here, and so right now we don't have an alternate, and we don't have, we don't really have an official rep, I guess. But at least, and I don't know whether we are doing this on an interim basis, but I'd like to, I know, I've talked to Trustee Williams, who is aware of the need for somebody to go to the meeting on the 21st and is able to go to represent Superior. And so I'd like to move that we appoint Trustee Williams, and I don't know how far we want to go with this appointment. Pardon?
I just leave it open-ended, and we can always change.
As a representative of Superior for the Denver Regional Council of Governments.
Okay. Motion by Trustee Cirilli. Is there a second? Trustee Williams, further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Anything else? I have just a couple of things. So the Dr. Cog, the U.S. 36 Mayors and Commissioners Coalition won an award through the Dr. Cog Local Governments Award Program, and we actually won a first place recognition for collaboration. So it's exciting news. There is a Dr. Cog Awards banquet if you want to go to. I'm not personally attending, but if you'd like to attend.
It costs like $75.
$75 at the Infinity Park down in Glendale, but that's available to people if they want. And then I received a letter back from the Jefferson County Commissioners regarding the Northwest Parkway, or Jefferson Parkway, I should say, which is the sort of W-470 colloquially, which is the toll road between Golden and Broomfield, roughly. The Mayor of Golden and myself, Boulder County, City of Boulder, recommended sitting down and having a discussion about what our issues are with the Parkway. They didn't want to sit down with, and Louisville as well, they didn't want to sit down with Louisville or Superior, but are willing to talk to Boulder and Boulder County about their concerns, and so they're going to keep me apprised about that issue. So,
have we been cut out of the herd?
Yeah, well, it doesn't, technically we're in Jefferson County in its tiny little smidgen on the corner, but they don't count us, they don't consider us being in their county. So, yeah, basically we've been cut out of the loop for right now. So there's been some discussion about how we can acquire additional amounts of open space around the refuge, especially west side of 93. Arbat is proposing some multi-story development in that area, and there's been some concern that probably doesn't make sense from a regional perspective, but Arbat and the commissioners didn't really see our side on that. So Boulder and City of Boulder, Boulder County are going to be continuing to chat with the Jefferson Parkway folks. That's all I had. Anything else from anybody? Trustee Pennington?
If I need some clarification. I thought that sometime last year that a policy was adopted by the board when somebody spoke in public comment period, that at the beginning of the next meeting, we would always do them the courtesy of answering their concerns, just as a matter of course. Is that my confusion?
Yeah. So how it was left is that if the board can speak to this, if they happen to know the answer to that question, more power to them. But otherwise, that we need to be able to research this and get back to them and answer it at the next meeting.
So that's what I'm trying to clarify. So can Gladys expect the answers to her several concerns at the beginning of the next meeting?
The question is, I can't understand what Gladys's concerns are. So
if she can clarify those to you, can we? I want to simply have a mechanism so that anybody who does public comment can expect to hear an answer, as can the people who heard those public comments on video.
Yeah.
We've tried a couple of
Justice, come on.
things. We had, for a while, we had a sort of running list of questions and the answers that I think we were trying to post or something, and that people apparently wasn't great. I think some of the answers, we explained where to get the answers tonight, and I don't know if that's that speaking with the town manager will get her the answer to her question. I think that's what it is, and I don't think then we need to revisit it in front of the whole board, but it's not.
I guess I'm assuming Gladys is not the only one with that question.
About the traffic.
And if we could do the courtesy to the entire community of before the next meeting period's public comment to address the answers to the previous public
that-
comment period's question.
That one's going to be, so that, I mean, that's, if we're going to try to describe the entire traffic control plan for the Morgul Classic, I think that's going to be, I can't see how to do that in a
Could we
logical way.
perhaps just refer to where to find that answer, that answer's been posted on the website under
Sure.
a certain address?
Or the person to contact, or,
Right.
yeah. I think there is actually a link to the Morgul Classic on the website. Matter of fact, I know there is.
believe
So.
residents deserve an answer, is my point.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Seeing nothing, get my gavel. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.